Anran turned around in horror and found her girlfriend, who had passed away the day before, sleeping beside her. She was startled, thinking she had encountered a ghost. It wasn't until her girlfriend hugged her and she felt her warm body temperature that her fear dissipated. Ian suddenly felt an indescribable clarity, because last night they had argued, and her girlfriend had angrily gotten into a taxi and left. But unexpectedly, a car accident happened, and she was gone forever. Now, looking at her girlfriend, safe and sound, Ian, he thought it was just a nightmare, but what he didn't expect was that his girlfriend was saying the exact same things as in the dream. Even the clothes she was wearing were exactly the same. Suddenly, he remembered the scene in the dream where his girlfriend was burned, so he immediately rushed out of the room. But he saw that his girlfriend hadn't properly wrapped the pot. Thankfully, she wasn't burned. The events of the dream hadn't repeated themselves, which temporarily relieved him. However, when his girlfriend was getting her hair permed, she was. In the midst of the chaos, he still burned his hand with a curling iron. The location of the burn was exactly the same as in his dream. This rekindled his fear. To prevent the dream from repeating itself, he deliberately took a different route when he left, knowing his girlfriend would be hit by someone. Then, 2 more people on motorcycles spilled cola on her sweater. However, even after changing routes, he still heard horns behind him. Sure enough, it was the same 2 people. He immediately stepped in front of his girlfriend, finally avoiding the motorcycle. But just as he thought he could change everything, a passerby carrying a Coke bumped into her again, spilling the Coke on her sweater. This made Ian realize that this wasn't a dream, but something that had actually happened yesterday. But his girlfriend said it was just a familiar dream. Then, to dispel her boyfriend's concerns, Mansa asked Ian to tell her what would happen next. If what happened hadn't actually happened, then it just meant her boyfriend was too nervous. Ian recalled that after parting ways with his girlfriend yesterday, she accidentally bumped into a mailbox, causing her watch to break. So Mansa decided to go with Ian to the company to see if what had actually happened. However, they walked all the way to the company building, and everything was normal. The watch wasn't damaged at all. Mansa felt that Ian was just overly nervous. Nevertheless, Ian was still uneasy. During the meeting, she kept looking around because she remembered that her girlfriend had barged in at this time yesterday. But her girlfriend hadn't appeared yet, which put her at ease. However, what she didn't know was that Mansa had only glanced at her from outside the door before quietly leaving. After work, he went to a bar and unconsciously caught a pool cup that his friend had knocked away. This made him realize that yesterday's events would still happen, just in a different order. However, because he caught the pool cup, it wasn't broken. He wondered if he could also change the outcome of his girlfriend's car accident. He hurriedly hailed a taxi, but when he got in, he discovered that the taxi driver was the same person as yesterday. Even stranger, last night his girlfriend. Ian felt the driver must know something, so he loudly questioned him. However, the driver remained silent, which angered Ian even more. He yelled to get out of the car and leave. Just as he was about to pay, the driver said, "No, it's okay." "Why not? You paid me yesterday." "I have to hurry." Ian didn't have time to think. Now he just wanted to get his girlfriend out of the city. He raced all the way and finally found Mansa. Without further ado, she pulled him along and they ran outside. They arrived at the train station, ready to leave the city. However, during the journey that followed, the man who always put his job first and never cared about his girlfriend's feelings, learned how to love. On the train, Ian looked out the window at the scenery, which became increasingly familiar. He recognized that this was the route home. It turned out that Mansa had bought a ticket back to her boyfriend's hometown. She wanted to see where her boyfriend grew up and understand how he had grown from a boy into the man she knew. Soon after, the lovers arrived at Yi-en's hometown in the pouring rain. Both were soaked to the bone. Yi-en started a fire to warm himself, but accidentally carved his hand into the fireplace. He rolled up his sleeve and looked at his watch. The glass was shattered. The events of yesterday were replaying themselves in his mind. Tears welled in his eyes as he turned to look at his wet girlfriend. In the candlelight, she was so beautiful and captivating. But fate was so unfair. No matter what she did to change things, even if she escaped, even a city couldn't change this ending. Then, wiping away her tears, she asked Mansa, "If you only had one day left to live, what would you do?" Mansa thought for a moment and said she would buy lots of beautiful shoes, eat 10 delicious ice creams, or perhaps meet a male model. Gradually, the light in her eyes softened. "Is it with you? Really? Yeah, of country? Just be together, like now, without any. What does it mean?" It turns out her only request was to be with him. After the rain, Ian took Mansa to the bar her father frequented. She recounted her childhood and memories of her father, deeply moved and shedding tears. Mansa wiped away her tears. "Ian, death doesn't represent love." This blissful companionship made Mansa reluctant to leave, but a graduation concert awaited her that evening, and she had to go back. Ian anxiously tried to persuade his girlfriend to stay, but Mansa had devoted many years to getting into this best music school, and the graduation concert was a crucial moment for her to realize her dream. Seeing Mansa's expectant look, Ian seemed to have made a significant decision. After returning, Ian quietly took away the sheet music that Mansa had written. He then made an excuse to leave her and went into a print shop to make many copies. He asked the band conductor for some time to help Mansa realize her dream. When the concert ended, everyone found Ian's copies of the sheet music. Mansa was even more surprised to see that it was her own sheet music. At this moment, Ian walked onto the stage and invited her to sing the new song for everyone. However, facing the large audience, Mansa felt timid. Finally, encouraged by Ian, she mustered her courage and walked to the front of the stage, singing the beautiful melody. At this moment, Mansa was not only a musician in the band, but also a unique singer. After the perfect performance, Mansa overcame her inner fear and felt extremely excited. Then they went to a restaurant to celebrate. Ian asked Mansa to close her eyes, then took out a bracelet he had prepared beforehand and gently put it on her wrist. She explained in detail the pendants on the bracelet. Each pendant had its unique meaning. When she saw the little star pendant, she said, "This is my heart. This is my heart. This is your heart." Ian hoped that his heart would always be with her. When they came out of the restaurant, it had started to rain heavily. Ian looked at the nightmare. At the starting intersection, he turned and said his final goodbye to Mansa. "But if you do this, you'll have your whole life gone. It doesn't matter. If you have 5 minutes or 50 years, Samantha. If it weren't for today, if it weren't for you." Mansa was deeply moved by Ian's sincere words. However, the deadly taxi arrived as scheduled. Mansa got in, and Ian calmly followed. As the car gradually entered the intersection, her heart began to race. but then a car sped towards her in the rain. She quickly hugged Mansa, and in the end, Mansa survived. However, Ian was gone forever. There are no second chances in life. Life has too many regrets that cannot be made up for. So what we must do is cherish the people and things in front of us, so that even when we lose them, we leave no regret.